Hey guys, it's Lazy, and I want to talk about update number 4 for the Kinetic Fusillade Totems, where I swapped to a strength stacking variant. And in this variant, I have taken down all Ubers with ease, one-shotting most of them. This build is at around 200 million DPS currently, and it is also tankier than before. This build will be able to clear all content in the game with ease. This build is an incredible all-rounder totem build that is capable of doing all mapping contents and running all map modifiers as well. Now, strength stacking for damage is nothing new, but bringing totems into endgame juice mapping is new. And I have tested this for all Uber bossing, simulacrums, juice, delirious mapping, and yeah, overall it is a really enjoyable experience so far. This is because we are using one of the best shield for totems in the endgame, which is the Coward Wail. Now, the reason why this shield is so good for totem build is because of the line that says totems which would be killed by enemies become spectral totems. This means that the shield gives you an unique utilities layer for totem builds that when enemy kill one of your totems instead of dying, it turns into spectral totems for 8 seconds, and even though it deals 40% to 50% less damage, they don't count toward your maximum totem limits. Means that if you have like 6 maximum totems and 5 of them get killed and converted, you now have 5 spectral totems on top of your existing totems, which means that you can resummon 5 new totems to replace the one that dies and bring your totems on the field up to 11 totems. So in my case, that means that I'm running around with 50% more damage multiplier when I have everything up. Of course, it doesn't really always work like that, and in the endgame, if your totem is dead, you are doing 0 damage, but as a matter of fact, if you are using the shield, you would always have 50% of your damage on the field because spectral totems cannot be killed. This would unlock totem build in the endgame because, again, one of the biggest problems with totem build is that your totem is dying and you're not doing any damage. Whenever you are running like endgame juice mapping, you would understand. And yeah. For example, simulacrums, delirious map, any maps that your totem is dying, or even reflect map as well. Now, the core concept of the build that you need to understand is we are stacking a bunch of strengths, and strength is our scaling vector, so do not swap to this build half-ass, like you need to have a decent budget. Now, I built my current character that I'm showcasing right here, borderline on the budget side of thing, which is still around 100 divines at this point, and a lot of the stuff I self-crafted. Replica Aberon Warpath is one of the mandatory unique items on almost all strength stacker, if not all of them, and it adds a tons of flat chaos damage onto the build. And it just happened that Kinetic Fusillade, one of the best way to scale is flat damage, because we are shooting so many projectiles and we are shooting them so fast. In order to solve our crit chance and accuracy rating, we are using one of the elevated Warlord modifiers on the helmets. Strength stacking, you could also do the elevated Hunter modifiers for negative chaos resistance as well, but since we are playing totems, usually we'll be playing at range, so I don't think that mods would be too beneficial for us, which means that you're gonna save a little bit of currency there. There are multiple ways to get Wither onto the build, but I chose to go with Balance of Terror. This means that we do have to cast a Despair once every 10 seconds, but only if you need the damage. It is also a part of our rotation because we are using 2 curse onto the build, like we have a Mark, a Sniper Mark, and a curse. In PoE 1 they don't stack. And because Kinetic Fusillade Totem shoots so fast, we will always almost have 15 stack of Wither up on target instantly. On the defensive side of thing, we are using the Iron Fortress, which is also another staple in strength stacking. Now this league, or like last league, we have introduced Fireborn unique items, so the Fireborn versions of Iron Fortress also give spell damage block, which is arguably better than the normal version, because in the normal version, which is what I'm currently using, I have to use a versatile combatant to cap my block, which I don't think you need to use them in the Fireborn version of this build. There's a downside on this body armor that says that chance to block spell damage is unlucky, which means that even if you cap spell block, it still roll unlucky, which is not good for you at all. And there's an easy way to resolve that with the rune graph of stability, which means that your lucky or unlucky effects are instead unexciting. which means that even if you are rolling unlucky, it's gonna roll 3 times and the middle result is U, so it's like normal instead of just being unlucky. So overall, it is not like an insanely tanky setup, but we do have a bigger HP pool and we cap our block with versatile combatants, so it is stronger and tankier than our previous setup. This character at this point is able to do pretty much all content. I'll try to come back and rework the build guide, and at this point if I were to make another setup, it's probably going to be Mage Blood, but if anything, Mage Blood is going to add quality of life, not trying to push any more damage into the build because I think it's going to be a bit overkill. Now that you understand the build, let's talk about the setup because the whole thing kind of changed from the previous elemental setup. Because we are going for strength stacking, this is like a standard strength stacking setup where I'm running a split personality here. This is why we have to path this way. And we just kind of dropped the whole thing on the right side on the witch area, Whisper of Doom, which is why we are swapping from Elementalist to Alcutus for that additional curse. We also take off these 2-point passive points, or like 3 passive points right here, in order to get more strength. This one gives 20 strength, and this one gives 40 strength, which is 60 strength. And you can't really get them from any of these point on the tree. I think this one gives 30, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you are strength stacking, it is much better to get these 2 points. And we're still going for Deadeye because, yeah, Deadeye is quality of life and damage. Now, for the jewel setups, I run a large cluster jewel here. For, you know, T1 strength, T1 all attribute is pretty standard. So I'm running split personality with +5 strength. The best one, the best second roll would be plus maximum life, but it is really expensive. I just go with evasion rating, and then I can convert that later with iron reflex for a little bit of like tankiness. Other than that, yeah, it's pretty standard. So we're running inertia to convert these decks to strength, and then we have the rune graph of stability here, which I talked about before. We're capping block with as the mountain, and then we are using versatile combatant as well. Now, and you really only want to swap to the setups at like high level. I think around level 95 at the very least. That way you have enough tankiness, because otherwise if you're not geared enough, you're gonna be like squishy. Because this build, beside block, there's not really any other thing that's going on. We only have like block and like life, and life comes with strength. So if you don't have enough strength, you're gonna have lower life, and yeah, it's just gonna be not good. Even though, yeah, it's gonna be like really, it's gonna do a lot of damage, like way more than the previous setups. Now for this middle of the tree right here, it is also pretty standard. We have an unnatural instinct over here with Transcendent Flesh, which is just good for strength stacking, just give tons of damage. And also in here, I run a Lethal Pry. We have 4 notables right here, and you really want to get as much increased strength as possible. Obviously it's depending on the markets, but I think 2 is very feasible that you can get 2. And then for the rest, you can go with flat string like I did here, and in here I have 10% chance to intimidate enemies for 4 seconds on hit, which kind of free up a slot on the glove for me to get rage on hit if I want to. But yeah, I didn't run it in the setup. And then I also path up here to get Ancestral Bond. You need a socket for Rena Splinter, Watcher's Eye. Now for Watcher's Eye, I go with plus Chaos Resistant while affected by Purity of Element. And yeah, we are running Purity of Element in the setups to help cap our resistance, and then also Chaos Resistant. Later on, we'll talk about the gems in a bit, but we also have Balance of Terror, and yeah, we need all these points on the tree, which is why I highly recommend you to only swap at high level to this build. For our gem setup, we are running a very standard Kinetic Fusillade link, with the exception that of the Imbue gem. Now for the Imbue gem, you can go for a few different options. Up here we still don't have this Imbue gem option, so we have to edit by hand. I'm running Void Manipulation because even at level 1, this one is giving 20% more chaos damage. You can also run this with Cruelty, or you can go with Void Manipulations and run with Gretzer Volley level 1 as well. either way should work, and these are the 3 best one in my opinion. We are having a despair setups for the Wither. Purity of Elements, you need to use it in Eternal Blessing because otherwise it's gonna reserve your life, which is not good because we have Blood Magic. And then we are running the same Tornado setups with Precisions now back onto the build, not because we need the hits, but we need the crit chance. And then, yeah, Sniper Mark on hits, Vitality to help a bit with recovery, 500 life regen is actually quite good. I want to tinker a bit with the Spectre setup, which is why I'm leveling up a few Spectre in the offhand, but nothing concrete for now. And finally, I want to quickly talk about the items and also how I obtain them. The kinetic ones, what I did was to buy a kinetic one base with Fracture with added chaos damage. You can also fracture it yourself. We are rolling with the Striking Essence of Wail until you hit one of these suffix that is usable. Either gonna be crit, multi, crit chance, or attack speed, and then you're gonna annul until you left with 3 mods, and then you just multi-mod. And for the shield, just get one with 40% less damage and 5 spectral totems. Now for the helmets, we are going to buy an eye level 85 Warlord Influence helmet. We are going to Fossil Craft with Serrate, Dense, Pristine until you hit the Gain Accuracy rating mods and another random Warlord modifiers. Then we're going to elevate to one of the mods with Orb of Dominance, and if you hit the Gain Accuracy ratings, then you're going to finish by crafting suffix cannot be changed if there's an open suffix to reforge crit. And if you land on something you don't like, you can just kind of repeat from step 1 because technically it's not that expensive to craft this. Now for the rest of the items, I kind of just outright bought them. I think Eyes of the Great Wolf, if you have to buy this one, just make sure that you don't need to get like the exact one that looks like this. You can go for like increased chaos damage, crits. There's like a bunch of other useful stats as well. The most important thing is obviously increased attributes, which you can look for one without quality, or if you buy ones with like without 20% quality, you can optimize it by using the Corrupted Catalyst to reroll this until you hit the 20% increased quality for attributes. And for the large cluster jewels, which I also craft myself, now you need an eye level 84 if you are going to fracture this yourself, but I just bought one that is already fractures, and then I use fundamental fossils craft to try and hit both of the strength and all attributes. And that is all I have for this update. So far it has been a great success playing this build. It is a bit squishy, but like I said, it doesn't really get that much better on the Scion Ascendancy, I think. But yeah, this setup will be able to farm all content in the game, so if you're following this build, I would likely to stop here and then I'll look for some other interesting build to see. But yeah, thank you so much for watching guys, and hopefully you enjoy the update so far, and I'll see you in the next one.